The construction of London Bridge began in 1176 during the reign of Henry II. The construction works took a long time, and the costs were extremely high. It was completed in 1209 during the reign of King John Lackland. The resulting bridge was a unique architectural masterpiece at the time. The bridge was densely inhabited, with over 100 houses and shops built on it. It was a separate district in medieval London. The bridge measured about 8 meters in width and 250 to 300 meters in length. In the center, there was a 2-meter wide road which connected the two banks of the Thames. The pillars of the bridge were linked by spectacular arches. The foundations of the bridgeheads were not on the shore, but in the riverbed. Gatehouses were built on the bridgeheads and in the middle. On the two ends, there were wooden drawbridges. At the southern end of the bridge, the spiked heads of executed traitors offered an alarming sight. In the Tudor era, there were nearly 200 buildings on the bridge. Because of the increased traffic, the road was widened and divided into 2 lanes. The bridge often caught fire as the roofs were built of timber. At the end of the 18th century, it became necessary to replace the almost 600-year-old structure. The new iron bridge was opened in 1831. In the same year, the old bridge was demolished. Today, only a few of its elements are displayed in the parks of London. Mycenae was one of the major centers of ancient Greek civilization in the late Bronze Age, so this period of Greek history is often called Mycenaean civilization. This grand city and its citadel were discovered by Heinrich Schliemann in the 19th century. He was the one who discovered the ruins of Troy. Schliemann is also renowned for having excavated the famous beehive tomb on the site of the ancient city of Mycenae, which he named the Treasury of Atreus, after the legendary king of Mycenae, the father of Agamemnon and Menelaus. However, it has not yet been proven whether the structure, actually a tomb, was really built for Atreus. A tholos, or beehive tomb, is a burial structure characterized by a circular plan and often a false dome. Although the first tholoi were built on the island of Crete, they are more characteristic of the Aegean region of the Bronze Age. There were 9 tholoi discovered in Mycenae. Their structure consists of 3 major parts: an entrance passage, a doorway, and the actual burial chamber. The entrance passage, or dromos, that leads to the treasury of Atreus on the Panagitsa hill is 36 meters long and has stone walls. The doorway, or stomion, is about 5.5 meters high and 2.5 meters wide. The enormous stone lintel above the door weighs 120 tons. A relieving triangle was formed from stones above the lintels. It is seen as the predecessor to the arch. The internal diameter of the dome is about 14.5 meters, with a height of about 13 meters. The dome was constructed from stone blocks placed in 33 ascending concentric circles. The hole in the middle is covered with a circular stone. The structure is supported by its own weight, due to the precise positioning of the stones. The floor is made of rammed earth. To the right of the entrance, a small passage leads to the actual burial chamber, where the deceased and his treasures may have been placed. The dome, probably built in the 13th or 14th century BC, was the largest dome in the world for over 1,000 years. Except for the circular stone on the top of the dome, all the pieces visible today are original, that is, more than 3,000 years old. If the tomb ever contained treasures, they disappeared in antiquity, as archaeologists did not find anything important during excavations. The Borgund Stave Church is one of Norway's 28 extant wooden churches. It is located in one of the picturesque valleys of this country of fjords. The church was built in the 12th to the 13th centuries, with later additions and restorations. The triple nave church was built on a Greek cross-shaped basilica plan. Its base was constructed of stones, the walls of wood. The pillars were connected by sill plates. Due to the excellent building materials and technology used, the frameworks and walls are very stable. The church has a stepped, shingled roof with a small tower on top. The outer decoration of the church includes carved crosses and dragons' heads, which also served to convey water away from the roof. These are similar to the dragon's heads found on the bows of Viking ships. The building has 3 entrance doors on its 3 sides. There is no door on the eastern wall. The western door leads to a vestibule, then to the nave. The aisles are surrounded by a unique arcaded ambulatory, which also runs around the chancel and apse. The internal decorations include carved St. Andrew's crosses and a gallery that has no practical function. Several runic inscriptions are found on the walls. According to the religion of the Vikings, runes were offered to them by Odin, the Norse god of gods. Although the Borgund Stave Church is nearly 800 years old, it is the best preserved example of Norway's stave churches due to careful maintenance and restoration. Today it functions as a museum. Easter Island, today a special territory belonging to Chile, is located in the Pacific Ocean, about 3,500 kilometers off the Chilean coast. It was named by the Dutch navigator Jacob Roggeveen, who was the first European to visit the island on Easter Sunday, 1722. The island is famous for its monolithic statues, unique works of art created by the native inhabitants. These statues, called moais, were carved out of volcanic rock found on the island. The statues were enormously large and heavy, so the question of how they were transported has long been a mystery. Most of the moais were erected on the coast, on ceremonial stone platforms called ahus. They faced the center of the island. Contrary to popular belief, these statues are not only giant heads, they also have bodies with arms. However, they have no legs. Today, Easter Island has a population of about 6,000 inhabitants. Nearly half of its territory belongs to the Rapa Nui National Park, which became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1995. The capital of the island is Hangaroa. With its unique archaeological sites and pleasant climate, the island attracts thousands of tourists every year. The medieval city of Ragusa, known today as Dubrovnik, was established on the coast of the Adriatic Sea in the 7th century. Thanks to its location, it was able to engage in the profitable maritime trade, to which its wealth is also attributed. Being a prosperous city, however, is what made Ragusa a target for other nations to conquer. The inhabitants of Ragusa built a heavily fortified city over the centuries, and extended its power to the surrounding areas as well. The Republic of Ragusa experienced its golden age in the 16th century. Ragusa was protected by fortifications consisting of the city wall and fortresses. Mansions, churches, public squares, and the port all demonstrated the greatness of this flourishing Renaissance city. One of Croatia's treasures, the old city of Dubrovnik, became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. In the Middle Ages, Seoul, now the capital of South Korea, was surrounded by a fortress wall. It measured about 18 kilometers in length and 6 meters in height. There were several gateways built along the length, the most important of which was the Namdaemun, the Great Southern Gate, officially called the Sungnaemun. It is the largest gate in the history of the country. The gate structure has a two-tiered tiled wooden roof with a shape similar to a pagoda. The four corners of the roof have hip rafters attached to them. Like other important gateways and palaces, the Namdaemun was defended by well-trained guards. They wore a special colorful uniform and carried a special axe with a crescent-shaped blade, a sword, and a bow. Before a devastating fire in 2008, the Namdaemun was the oldest wooden structure in Seoul. Since then, it has been rebuilt to its original form. This grand piece of art has been designated as South Korea's National Treasure #1. Situated in South Dakota, Mount Rushmore is not known for its natural features. It is famous for the sculptures carved into its southeastern face. The sculptures depict the heads of 4 great U.S. presidents and were created by Danish-American sculptor Gutzon Borglum and his son, Lincoln Borglum. The project was carried out between 1927 and 1941. About 400 workers took part. Borglum constructed a pointing machine to transfer the exact dimensions of his models to the mountain. Dynamite was used to remove excess granite. Altogether, more than 400,000 tons of rock were blasted off the mountain. The details were then carved with pneumatic drills. The gigantic carvings portray the faces of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln, although the original plan was to depict them from the waist up. The heads are about 18 meters tall and can be found at a height of 150 meters from the base. The noses are about 6 meters long, while the eyes and mouths are 3.5 meters and 5.5 meters wide, respectively. The National Memorial, also called the Shrine of Democracy, is visited by millions of tourists annually. It is one of the most popular tourist attractions in the U.S. An apoxiomenos is a statue characteristic of ancient Greek sculpture, which depicts a young athlete caught in the act of scraping sweat and dust from his body with a special instrument after exercising. The Greek word apoxiomenos means scraper. Standing 192 centimeters high, the Croatian apoxiomenos is a bronze statue, which is believed to be a copy of the original made by Lysippos in the 4th century BC. The work bears the stylistic marks of the Greek sculptor. According to sources, Lysippus was the first to create portrait sculptures. Emotions are also well reflected in the athlete's facial expression. The three-dimensional representation of the muscles and of movement is also commonly associated with the master.